Sister stole my fiancé and married him. Years later, he left her and now she's asking me to take her in because she's homeless. For context, I'm 32F and my sister Amber is 29F. We grew up in a small town in the Midwest, daughters of a high school teacher and a nurse. Our childhood was mostly happy, but there was always an undercurrent of competition between us. Amber was the pretty one, the social butterfly who effortlessly drew people to her. I was the bookish one, more comfortable with my nose in a novel than at a party. Our parents tried their best to treat us equally, but it was clear that Amber was the favorite. She was the one who brought home friends, who starred in school plays, who got asked to prom by the quarterback. I was the one who won spelling bees, who tutored other kids after school, who spent weekends volunteering at the local animal shelter. Despite our differences, we weren't enemies. We shared a room until I left for college, whispering secrets late into the night and defending each other against schoolyard bullies. But there was always a part of me that envied Amber's easy charm and social grace. Everything changed when I met Jake, 34M, in college. I was a junior, majoring in computer science, when he transferred to our university. We met in a required literature class. Neither of us particularly wanted to be there, but we bonded over our shared disinterest in 19th-century Russian novels. Jake was different from any guy I'd met before. He was charming and intelligent, with a quick wit that kept me on my toes. He was studying business administration, with dreams of starting his own tech company someday. We'd spend hours talking about everything from the latest advancements in AI to our favorite sci-fi novels. For the first time in my life, I felt truly seen and appreciated for who I was. Jake didn't care that I wasn't the life of the party or that I preferred debugging code to dancing at clubs. He loved my mind, my quirks, my passion for technology. We dated for 4 years before he proposed. It was a simple proposal, no flash mobs or elaborate setups. Just the two of us, on a hike in the mountains, with Jake getting down on one knee at the summit. I was over the moon. I thought I had found my happily ever after. When I brought Jake home to meet my family, I was nervous but excited. My parents were impressed by his ambition and charm. But it was Amber's reaction that should have set off alarm bells. She was overly enthusiastic, hanging on Jake's every word, laughing a little too loudly at his jokes. I brushed it off as Amber being her usual friendly self. After all, she was my sister, and I trusted her. Plus, she was in a relationship of her own at the time, with a guy named Chris who she'd been dating since high school. The months leading up to the wedding were a whirlwind of planning and excitement. I was working full-time as a software developer while trying to organize the biggest day of my life. Amber offered to help with the preparations, and I was grateful for her support. She took charge of many aspects of the wedding planning, choosing the flowers, coordinating with the caterer, even helping me pick out my dress. Looking back, I should have seen the signs. The lingering glances she shared with Jake, the accidental touches, the way she always seemed to be around when Jake was over. But I was blinded by stress and happiness. I was marrying the love of my life, and my sister was by my side, helping to make it all happen. Everything seemed perfect. 2 weeks before the wedding, I came home early from work. I had a migraine and decided to leave the office early to lie down. As I approached our apartment, I heard muffled sounds coming from inside. Thinking Jake might be watching TV, I quietly opened the door. What I saw shattered my world in an instant. Jake and Amber were on our couch, half undressed and locked in a passionate embrace. They didn't even notice me at first, too engrossed in each other. I stood there, frozen, for what felt like an eternity but was probably only a few seconds. Then, I let out a choked sob. They sprang apart, faces pale with shock and guilt. I couldn't bear to hear their excuses or explanations. I ran out of the house in tears, ignoring their calls. I drove aimlessly for hours, my mind a whirlwind of pain and disbelief. How could they do this to me? My fiancé and my sister, the two people I trusted most in the world, betraying me in the worst possible way. I ended up at my best friend Sarah's place. She held me as I cried, offering comfort and righteous anger on my behalf. I spent the night on her couch, unable to face going back to the apartment I shared with Jake. The next day, Jake came to talk to me. He looked terrible, eyes red-rimmed, hair disheveled. He confessed that he and Amber had been seeing each other for months behind my back. He said he was confused and didn't know what he wanted. I was devastated. All our plans, our dreams for the future, lay in ruins around me. I asked him how long it had been going on, how they could do this to me. His answers were vague and unsatisfying. He claimed it had started innocently, Amber helping with wedding planning, late nights talking. Before they knew it, things had escalated. I called off the wedding. The next few days were a blur of cancellations and tearful explanations to friends and family. My parents were furious with Amber, but they tried to mediate the situation. They suggested family therapy, tried to convince me that we could work through this. But I wasn't having any of it. The betrayal was too deep, the wound too fresh. I moved out of the apartment I shared with Jake, crashing on Sarah's couch until I could find a place of my own. I threw myself into my work, taking on extra projects and working late into the night. Anything to avoid going home to an empty apartment and my tumultuous thoughts. Amber tried to reach out multiple times. She left tearful voicemails, sent long emails full of apologies and explanations. I deleted them all without reading or listening. Jake, to his credit, respected my wishes for no contact, only reaching out once to ask about dividing our shared possessions. To add insult to injury, Jake and Amber got married 6 months later. A mutual friend told me, thinking I would want to know. They had the audacity to invite me to the wedding. Needless to say, I didn't attend. I heard through the grapevine that my parents reluctantly went, not wanting to completely alienate their younger daughter. The next few years were hard. I struggled with depression and trust issues. I threw myself into my career, climbing the corporate ladder at my tech company. I made new friends through work and a local hiking group, but I kept everyone at arm's length. The thought of opening myself up to that kind of hurt again was terrifying. I went to therapy, working through my anger and pain. Slowly, very slowly, I started to heal. I even started dating again, though nothing serious. Every time a relationship started to get close, I would find a reason to end it. My relationship with my parents was strained. They tried to maintain connections with both their daughters, which I understood logically but found hard to accept emotionally. I saw them on major holidays, but our interactions were stilted and uncomfortable. Years passed, and I slowly rebuilt my life. I was promoted to lead developer at my company. I bought my own home, a small but cozy house with a garden that I tended in my free time. I adopted a cat, a grumpy old tomcat from the shelter who became my constant companion. I even started a serious relationship with a kind, patient man named Alex. He knew my history and never pushed me to move faster than I was comfortable with. For the first time in years, I felt like I might be ready to open my heart again. Then, about a month ago, I received a call from a number I didn't recognize. It was Amber. Her voice was shaky, and she sounded desperate. She told me that Jake had left her for another woman, and she was struggling financially. She had lost her job, couldn't afford rent, and was facing eviction. I listened in stunned silence as she begged me to let her stay with me until she got back on her feet. She apologized profusely for what she had done, saying she realized how terrible her actions were and that she regretted everything. She said I was her last hope, as our parents had refused to take her in, still angry about what she had done to me. I was conflicted. On one hand, she was my sister, and a part of me still cared about her despite everything. On the other hand, the pain and betrayal she had caused me were still very real. I told her I needed time to think and hung up. For the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about the situation. I talked to my therapist, my closest friends, and even reached out to my parents for their perspective. My parents confirmed that Amber had asked them for help, but they had turned her away, feeling that she needed to face the consequences of her actions. Alex was supportive but concerned. He worried that letting Amber back into my life might undo all the progress I'd made. Sarah was vehemently against the idea, reminding me of all the pain Amber had caused. After much deliberation, I decided to meet with Amber in person. We agreed to meet at a neutral location, a small cafe in town. When I saw her, I was shocked. The once vibrant and confident woman was now a shell of her former self. She looked tired, worn down, and much older than her 29 years. We sat down, and she immediately launched into a tearful apology. She told me how sorry she was for betraying me, how she had realized over the years what a mistake she had made. She explained that her relationship with Jake had been tumultuous from the start, built on a foundation of deceit and guilt. According to Amber, Jake had been unfaithful to her multiple times throughout their marriage. The irony wasn't lost on me. She said she had stayed with him out of stubbornness and fear of admitting she had made a mistake. But the final straw came when he left her for his much younger co-worker, leaving Amber with nothing. As I listened to her story, I felt a mix of emotions. There was still anger and hurt, but also a twinge of pity. I could see the genuine remorse in her eyes, but I also couldn't help but think that this was karma coming back to bite her. I asked her about her plans, what she intended to do to get back on her feet. She admitted that she hadn't thought that far ahead, that she was just trying to survive day by day. She had been staying with friends, couch surfing, but had run out of options. After a long conversation, I told Amber that I needed more time to think about her request. I couldn't make a decision on the spot. She understood and thanked me for even considering it. Over the next week, I did a lot of soul-searching. I thought about the years of pain I had endured, the trust issues I had developed, and the long journey to healing I had been on. I also thought about forgiveness and second chances. I talked it over with Alex, who surprised me by suggesting that helping Amber might be a way for me to finally close this chapter of my life. My therapist cautioned me to set clear boundaries if I decided to help, to protect myself emotionally. In the end, I made a decision that surprised even me. I called Amber and told her she could stay with me, but under strict conditions. It would be temporary, 3 months max. She would need to actively look for a job and contribute to household expenses when she started earning. And most importantly, we would need to attend therapy together to work through our issues. Amber agreed to all the conditions, expressing profound gratitude. She moved in the following weekend, and it's been interesting, to say the least. The first few days were awkward. We tiptoed around each other, unsure of how to act or what to say. But slowly, we started to fall into a routine. Amber kept her word and spent her days job hunting and attending therapy sessions with me. In therapy, we've been unpacking years of hurt, jealousy, and resentment. It's been painful at times, but also cathartic. Amber has taken full responsibility for her actions, acknowledging the pain she caused me and our family. She's also been working on her own issues, trying to understand why she did what she did and how to become a better person. We've talked about our childhood, about the competition and resentment that had always simmered between us. Amber confessed that she had always been jealous of my intelligence and drive, that she felt she could only compete by being the pretty, popular one. It was eye-opening to realize that while I had envied her social ease, she had envied my academic success. It hasn't been all smooth sailing. There have been arguments and tense moments. Sometimes, when I look at her, I still see the woman who betrayed me in the worst possible way. But other times, I see my little sister, vulnerable and trying to make amends. One night, about 2 weeks after she moved in, I found Amber crying in the guest room. When I asked what was wrong, she broke down completely. Through her sobs, she told me how much she regretted her actions, how she wished she could go back in time and change everything. She said she didn't deserve my kindness and that she would understand if I asked her to leave. In that moment, something shifted inside me. I sat down next to her and, for the first time in years, I hugged my sister. We cried together, releasing years of pent-up emotions. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. As the weeks have passed, we've been slowly rebuilding our relationship. It's not the same as it was before, and it probably never will be, but it's something new. We've had long conversations about our childhood, our insecurities, and our hopes for the future. Amber found a job at a local bookstore. It's not much, but it's a start. She's been contributing to the household expenses as agreed and has been looking into courses at the community college to improve her skills. Our parents were initially skeptical when they learned that Amber was staying with me. They worried that I was setting myself up for more hurt. But after seeing the effort we've both been putting into mending our relationship, they've come around. We even had dinner together last week, the first time our whole family had been in the same room in years. Alex has been incredibly supportive throughout this process. He's given me space when I needed it, but has also been there to listen and offer advice. Watching him interact with Amber, always kind but maintaining a respectful distance, has made me appreciate him even more. As for Jake, I heard through mutual friends that his relationship with the coworker didn't last. Apparently, he tried to reach out to Amber, but she blocked his number. I felt a sense of satisfaction knowing that she had finally closed that chapter of her life. It's been almost 3 months now since Amber moved in. The deadline we agreed upon is approaching, and honestly, I'm not sure what's going to happen. A part of me has gotten used to having her around, to rebuilding our sisterhood. Another part is still wary, still healing. I know some people might think I'm crazy for giving her a second chance. Maybe I am. But life is too short to hold on to anger and resentment forever. It doesn't mean I've forgotten or that everything is forgiven, but I'm choosing to move forward. Amber has been looking at apartment listings, respecting our original agreement. But yesterday, she asked if we could talk about the possibility of extending her stay. She said she understands if I say no, but that she's not ready to give up on rebuilding our relationship. I haven't given her an answer yet. I'm still weighing my options, considering what's best for both of us. On one hand, having her here has been healing in ways I never expected. On the other hand, I worry about falling back into old patterns or getting hurt again. I guess what I'm looking for is advice. Am I crazy for considering letting her stay longer? Am I setting myself up for more pain? Or is this a genuine opportunity for both of us to heal and rebuild our relationship? I know trust is earned, not given, and Amber has a long way to go before I can fully trust her again. But I can't deny the progress we've made. I see her genuine efforts to change, to make amends, and to be a better person. Part of me wonders if this is the universe's way of giving us a second chance at being sisters. Another part fears that I'm being naive in setting myself up for disappointment. I'm not looking for anyone to make this decision for me, but I would appreciate any insights or experiences you might have. This whole situation has been a roller coaster of emotions, and I'm trying to approach it with as much clarity and wisdom as possible. Thank you for reading this far. Writing it all out has been therapeutic in itself. I never thought I'd be in this position, but life has a funny way of throwing curveballs at you. Here's to hoping that whatever decision I make, it leads to healing and peace for both Amber and me. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this post to blow up like it did. Thank you all for your thoughtful responses and advice. I've read through every comment, and I'm overwhelmed by the support and varied perspectives. To address some common questions. 1. No, I have not had any contact with Jake since the betrayal, and I have no intention of doing so. That chapter of my life is firmly closed. 2. Yes, Amber has been going to individual therapy in addition to our joint sessions. She's been working on her own issues and insecurities. 3. For those asking about my love life, Alex and I are still together. He's been incredibly supportive throughout this whole situation. 4. To the people suggesting that Amber might betray me again or that this is all a ploy, I understand your concern. Trust me, I've considered these possibilities. It's why we have clear boundaries and why I'm being cautious. 5. For those sharing similar stories of forgiveness and reconciliation, thank you. Your experiences have given me hope and something to think about. After reading all your comments and doing some more soul searching, I've made a decision. I'm going to extend Amber's stay, but with some modifications to our agreement. Instead of an open-ended arrangement, we'll reassess every 3 months. Amber will continue with both individual and joint therapy. She'll start paying a fair share of rent and utilities now that she has a job. We'll set aside time each week for open, honest communication about how we're both feeling. I'll maintain my own personal space and boundaries, including time alone in the apartment. I know this won't be easy, and there's still a risk of getting hurt. But I feel like this is an opportunity for growth and healing that I don't want to pass up. If it doesn't work out, at least I'll know I tried. Thank you all again for your support and advice. I'll try to post an update in a few months to let you know how things are going. Wish us luck.